know I got the receipts, girl. You know I got the receipts. Welcome back to the Sweet Pea Diaries. It's your girl Sweet Pea, and I am back with another video. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back to my channel. And if you are a new subscriber, welcome to the Sweet Pea Diaries. Be sure to like this video, share this video, but most importantly, be sure to subscribe to the channel. So you guys, let me know if you can hear, because we got a lot to get into. I'm sorry that we were having technical difficulties. Y'all know how it goes with this vMix. It gives me, it gives me problems because this is a more technical program. So sometimes, when I put all of this together, the volume on the microphone turns off, and sometimes I have to restart it all over again. So that's what actually took place. So you guys, thank you for being patient. We are going to jump right into this video. Everybody, you know that the internet is on fire. Jay-Z has been named. Everyone has been waiting for this day, it seems. Everyone's been saying, I told you so. We knew this was coming. Jaguar Wright has been screaming from the hilltops that Jay-Z is a monster. And it looks like a 13-year-old was raped by Jay-Z at a Diddy, I guess, after party. This person is not 13 now, but at the time, back in 2000, she was 13. And she's claiming that after the 2000 MTV award show, she went back to a party that was hosted by Diddy. And during that time, Sean Carter raped her. Now, you guys know that Jay-Z is not going to just, I wasn't expecting him to come right out with a statement, but honey, he came right out with a statement. So we're going to get into all of that. We're going to talk about Jay-Z's statement. We're going to go over the official court documents that we have of the victim, the Jane Doe. She's not been named. And then we're also going to go over Jay-Z's countersuit. Jay-Z is also suing. He's saying, you're not going to get one red cent. You're not going to get a dime from me. This is blackmail. So we're going to go over, we got a long show ahead of us. So before we get into it, I just want to issue a disclaimer like I always do. I'm not a legal professional. I'm not an attorney, a paralegal. I am not offering any legal advice. We're just reading the court documents, going over public information that is in public databases, and just giving my commentary on the subject matter. All right, you guys. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to pull up so like I said, Jay-Z was named as, a perpetrator by an alleged victim, a Jane Doe, who claimed she was 13 at the time that this incident occurred. Okay. Now, Jay-Z issued a public statement directly after this, and this is what his statement reads. My lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Busby. What he had calculated was the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir, it had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree? These alleged victims would deserve real justice if that were the case. This lawyer, who I have done a bit of research on, seems to have a pattern of these type of theatrics. I have no idea how you have come to be such a deplorable human, Mr. Busby, but I promise you, I have seen your kind many times over. I'm more than prepared to deal with your type. You claim to be a Marine. Marines are known for their valor. You have neither honor nor dignity. My only heartbreak is for my family. My wife and I will have to sit our children down, one of whom is at the age where her friends will surely see the press and ask questions about the nature of these claims and explain the cruelty and greed of people. I mourn yet another loss of innocence. Children should not have to endure such at their young age. It is unfair to have to try to understand inexplicable degrees of malice meant to destroy families and human spirit. My heart and support goes out to true victims in the world who have to watch how their life story is dressed in costume for profitability by this ambulance chaser in a cheap suit. You have made a terrible error in judgment thinking that all celebrities are the same. I'm not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out of the projects of Brooklyn. We don't play these types of games. We have very strict codes and honor. We protect children. You seem to exploit people for personal gain. Only your network of conspiracy theorists, fake psychics, will believe the idiotic claims you have levied against me. That, if not for the seriousness surrounding harm to kids, would be laughable. I look forward to showing you just how different I am. Now, I understand, that this is a very serious allegations, and I can understand how Jay-Z would be upset, if he doesn't have anything to do with this. But in my opinion, this is a very long response. I don't even know why he had to mention anything about Marcy Projects and a code of honor and the man being a Marine and all this. in my opinion, this just made Jay-Z look a little bit questionable. I'm kind of side-eyeing him because why would you put this statement out? Just simply say, I'm not guilty and I'll see you in court. This 4-page letter, it's like, it screams to me deflection. I can hear, the arrogance in his demeanor. It's coming across in this letter. So I know he wrote this. I'm pretty sure he had somebody write it for him, transcribe it. But this sounds like something that he wrote. It doesn't sound like a representative or a lawyer. Anybody wrote it. I believe he wrote it. I believe these are his words. I just feel like this was unnecessary. So this is a public statement that Jay-Z put out in response to this lawsuit. I'm going to pull up the court documents now about the lawsuit that this Jane Doe has filed. So the plaintiff, Jane Doe, and through her attorneys, the Busby Law Firm, for her complaint alleges as follows. Defendant Sean Combs, a.k.a. P. Diddy, a.k.a. Puff Daddy, a.k.a. Diddy, a.k.a. P. D, a.k.a. Love, along with his longtime friend and collaborator, Sean Carter, a.k.a. Jay-Z, drugged and AR'd a 13-year-old girl at an after party following the 2000 Video Music Awards. Another celebrity stood by. So this was the VMAs, not the MTV Awards. This was the VMAs. Another celebrity stood by and watched as Combs and Carter took turns assaulting the minor. Many others were present at the after party but did nothing to stop the assault. Combs has been allowed for years to conduct himself in this manner without any consequences. He believes he is above the law. He is not. His close friend, Sean Carter, has been with Combs during many such instances described herein. Both perpetrators must face justice. For decades, defendant Combs abused, molested, raped, assaulted, threatened, and coerced women, minors, and others for sexual gratification, to assert dominance and to conceal his abhorrent conduct. He accomplished these acts by and through a criminal enterprise built on his success as a rapper, record producer, and record executive. Combs is one of the wealthiest musical artists in the world. Behind the facade of being a 3-time Grammy Award winner, discovering and developing multiple famous musical artists, and ranking on Forbes' list of the highest paid entertainers in the world, there existed something sinister, a dark underbelly of crime, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, bribery, and prostitution. Now, as I read this, as I'm let me see. Now, as I read this, this is a lot. There's going to be a lot of triggering words, circumstances, situations that are going to be discussed during this video. So I'm just going to issue this trigger warning right now. If that is something that is going to affect you, if you are a survivor, if this is going to trigger, memories, and it's going to be a hard video for you to watch, I would suggest that you remove yourself from this video and maybe watch something else on our channel that is more lighthearted, because this is going to be hard. As you can hear and as you can tell, it is a lot. Okay. We're going to be talking about some really graphic details. Okay. So with that being said, let's just continue. Forced labor, kidnapping, bribery, prostitution. This is a lot. And if, a 13-year-old being exposed to this and other adults being around, seeing this happening and no one doing anything about it, that's horrendous. Combs is a menace to society, women, and children. While his wealth has kept him above consequences for years, Combs now faces the awesome power of the American judicial system and ultimately a jury of his peers, who will be asked to punish him for his deplorable conduct described herein. Combs' businesses. Combs maintains a business enterprise. Combs's business enterprise is central to the pervasive acts of sexual assault and abuse committed by him during the last decades. Combs operated his business, headquartered at various times in Manhattan and Los Angeles, under a variety of United States-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Bad Boy Books Holdings Incorporated, Bad Boy Records LLC, Bad Boy Entertainment LLC, Bad Boy Productions LLC, Daddy's House Recording Studio Inc., and CEOPCO LLC, doing business as Combs Global, FKA Combs Enterprises LLC, Combs Enterprises, and Combs Global, collectively the Combs businesses. That is a lot of businesses. That's a lot of names. Okay, what is all of these? See, now this right here screams money laundering to me. Why do you need all of these different names, all these different companies? If you are just a record label, you're just a producer, why you need all these different businesses? What are you doing with all of these different businesses? And from what I have been told, Janice Combs, her name is on a lot of these businesses. I don't even think Diddy, any of this is in his name. Corporate entities in the Combs business portfolio included record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits promoting business, a marketing agency, talent discovery, a television network, and media company. On the surface, each of these businesses served a legitimate purpose related to entertainment, music, and other subjects. But in reality, Combs, by and through himself and his agents, employees, and contractors, used these businesses to sexually assault, abuse, threaten, and coerce hundreds of individuals through sexual quid pro quo schemes, as well as to take advantage of individuals with impunity, thinking the victims would never have any recourse. Combs and his agents, employees, and contractors through these Combs businesses would tell the victims, this is what it takes to be famous. What are you willing to do to become a star? And perform this sexual act or else, in exchange for the victim performing a non-consensual sexual act for the gratification of Combs and his cohort. Members and associates of the Combs business engaged in and or attempted to engage in, among other activities, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for the purposes of prostitution, coercion, and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The Combs business constituted an ongoing organization whose members function as a continuing unit for a common purpose of achieving the objectives of Combs. Combs' pervasive history of sexual assault and violence. For years, Combs and his businesses engaged in a persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse towards women, men, and minors. This abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. As part of his pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated both men and women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with both commercial sex workers and unsuspecting partygoers. So they're saying here that the partygoers were engaging in sexual activity, like performances, like he would orchestrate these lavish events and they were like role playing and doing this, but they didn't even realize that they had sex workers there against their will, teenage girls against their will. These unsuspecting partygoers were just partying, drinking, getting high, but didn't realize that they were part of these performances that Puffy was orchestrating and putting together. That's deep. Combs ensured participation from these individuals by, among other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them with or without their knowledge, controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support, and threatening to cut off the same, and using intimidation, violence, and illicit drugs. Now, Young Miami, you want me to think that you didn't know any this type? You said you didn't know this Diddy. You didn't know this love. So you mean to tell me he did all of this to everyone else, but not you? You didn't have any, no experience with this. You never seen it. Girl, he literally gave you a show on Revolt. Carisha, please. That was all Diddy. All the opportunities that Carisha was getting in the industry, acting roles, all of that came through Diddy. Going to the Met Gala came through Diddy. Okay, her celebrity blew up when she got with Diddy. So you mean to tell me he didn't require you to take part in anything? Like I've always said, I think Young Miami was just with it. I think she's a special kind of freak and she liked these things. I mean, the girl said she liked to be peed on. So I don't think that she cared about any. I think she was down with it. So maybe she didn't even see that anything wrong with this because she was down with it. But I don't think that not for one hot minute that she didn't participate in any freak offs, that she wasn't going on these lavish vacations, just him and her, and wasn't none of this shit taking place. Oh, when he got with you or got around you, he just would stop everything. Girl, please. I believe Saucy Santana too. All them people that she would be having with her whole little entourage, all them little people that be with her, I believe they all participated and played around with Diddy. Combs particularly fancied the use of the popular date rape drug Rofinol or GHB to commit heinous non-consensual acts of sexual violence and rape onto countless victims. Combs often would secretly use the drug in an alcoholic beverage served at his parties. Partygoers were forced to consume the beverage containing GHB either prior to entering or while they were at the party. There are also allegations of Combs dousing victims in lotions or similar body oils also laced with GHB so that the drug would be absorbed through the victim's skin and make it easier to assault him or her. Now, that's a special kind of drug, okay? If it can go through your skin and get you high through your skin. Now, and that's a special kind of crazy that you would even think of something like that. I'm going to just put it in the lotion. You really trying to, this is determination. This man was really trying to drug these people, okay? Now, if you have to drug somebody and you have to do this against their will, that's where I'm like, I don't think that bending someone's will or doing something against their will, I don't think that is ever okay. That is sick and sadistic. But the fact that you would, damn. So that's probably why all the baby oils, all the bottles of baby oils that they allegedly found, that's probably what. Now, if they do tests on them, all they got to do is do some forensic tests on those bottles and see if they contain any illicit substances. Okay, because this person is saying that he put it in the lotions, honey. He put it in the lube. He put it in everything. Further, it is well known that Combs had a practice of lacing water bottles with substances such as Xanax and distributing them at his parties. Now, if it is a well-known practice of his, I wouldn't drink a water bottle. I wouldn't take nothing to drink. I'll bring my own drinks if I'm going to a Diddy party. Combs' recurrent and pervasive physical abuse took place for multiple decades. His tendencies of violence and sexual assault were well known amongst his colleagues, employees, agents, and businesses. On numerous occasions from at least in or about 1996 and continuing for years, Combs assaulted women and men by striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. Combs also assaulted children, both physically and sexually. In 1996, Combs was found guilty of criminal mischief for threatening a photographer from the New York Post with a gun. In 1999, he was arrested and charged with second-degree assault and criminal mischief in connection with assaulting a record executive. Combs was arrested again the same year for his involvement in a shooting at a club in New York. Another instance of violence occurred at a Los Angeles hotel in or about March of 2016, which was captured on video and later publicly reported, where Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a woman as she was attempting to leave his hotel room. When hotel security staff intervened, Combs attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. In the past year, numerous civil complaints have been filed by plaintiffs who allege that they have been sexually abused by Combs between 1991 and 2009. In November of 2023, 3 lawsuits were filed against Combs under the New York Adult Survivors Act. Cassie Ventura, an artist signed to Bad Boy, sued Combs in New York for rape and physical abuse. She alleged Combs facilitated these acts by and through supplying Miss Ventura with copious amounts of drugs and urging her to take them, beginning in 2006. Joy Dickerson Neal also sued Combs in New York, alleging Combs drugged her, sexually assaulted her, and secretly recorded the assault in 1991. Lisa Gardner, whom Combs met at an event hosted by a record label affiliated with Bad Boy, sued him for raping her and a friend in 1990 or 1991 when she was only 16. In December of 2023, an anonymous plaintiff sued Combs in New York for drugging and gang raping her in 2003 when she was only 17 years old. Now, this victim alleged that employees and business associates of Combs, through their affiliation with Bad Boy Enterprise, lured her to Combs' home, where Combs then raped her. In February of 2024, Rodney Little Rod Jones, one of Combs' former producers, sued Combs for forcing him to engage in unwanted sex acts and sex trafficking, among other allegations. Mr. Jones alleged that Combs regularly drugged others, including minors, by giving them drugs laced with ecstasy, MDMA, and other date rape drugs. Mr. Jones alleged that Combs in fact drugged him as well in order to commit acts of sexual assault. In May of 2024, former model Crystal McKinney and April Lampros sued Combs. Miss McKinney alleged that Combs drugged and sexually assaulted her at his recording studio in 2003. Mimicking what has now become a known pattern, Combs promised Miss McKinney to help her with her modeling career in exchange for engaging in sexual conduct with him. Miss Lampros, an intern at Arista Records, which was an owner of Bad Boy, also sued Combs in May of 2024 in New York County Supreme Court for raping her on multiple occasions, secretly filming these acts and showing the recordings to multiple people. Ms. Lampros also alleges that Combs ordered her to take drugs on one occasion before he raped her. In July of 2024, former adult film star Adria English, who was employed by Combs as an entertainer at his infamous white parties that brought together the biggest names in the music and entertainment industries, sued Combs in the Southern District of New York for sex trafficking, alleging that he required her to consume drinks laced with ecstasy and secretly recorded these acts. In September of 2024, singer and songwriter Dawn Angelique Richard also sued Combs. Richard was employed by Combs as part of the girl group Danity Kane, formed by Combs and later as a key member of Combs' band Diddy Dirty Money. She sued Combs in New York for sexual assault, false imprisonment, and for subjecting her to hostile working conditions due to her gender, including degrading comments and threats. Ms. Richard has alleged that Combs regularly supplied others, including minors, with copious amounts of drugs and alcohol and subjected them to sexual acts while they were sedated and or unconscious due to the drugs and alcohol. In September of 2024, a federal grand jury in Manhattan indicted Combs and charged him with sex trafficking, racketeering, and the creation of a criminal enterprise in which he abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. The indictment explains that Combs' abuse of women and minors was enabled and conspired with by the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Combs' long history of violence against women unequivocally establishes that his actions are motivated by gender, both men and women. Combs has a profound contempt for women and a desire to dominate both minors and other men. His conduct shows a long-standing practice of denigrating, defeating, and attempting to humiliate men, women, and children. His practices and desires are different for men, women, and children, but his actions are unequivocally motivated by the victim's particular gender and age. So they're saying here, I guess, I guess whatever the gender or age was, depending upon that, he would do different things. He had different desires for men. He had different desires for children and different desires for women. Plaintiff's allegations herein substantially mirror Combs' prior conduct as established through criminal indictments and other lawsuits. Through this case, the plaintiff seeks a full measure of justice from a man who thought his power, money, and influence rendered him untouchable. Plaintiff joins many other victims by filing this complaint in hopes their common voice makes it impossible for Combs to assault another person ever again. Defendant Carter is like Combs, a wildly successful rapper and businessman. Carter and Combs have a long history together. Carter met and began collaborating musically with Combs in the 90s. Combs and Carter rose together to the very top of the hip-hop industry in terms of fame and influence by the end of that decade. Combs and Carter were not simply occasional collaborators in the music industry. The two men developed a close friendship that has been well documented from the late 90s to the present. Together, they attended countless music industry events for each other's business ventures, parties, and after parties. Indeed, the two are apparently so close that Combs stated in 2023 that Carter is the only person other than Combs' mother who is allowed to call him by his legal first name of Sean. In 2000, near the height of their fame, power, and influence, Combs and Carter attended the 2000 Video Music Awards in New York City. Afterwards, Combs hosted an after party for many of the most famous celebrities in the music and entertainment industries, including Carter, which is where the events alleged in this complaint occurred. Parties. Plaintiff Jane Doe is a female who resides in Alabama. Defendant Sean Combs is a male who, on information and belief, resides in New York City through incarceration in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Honey, they ain't even give his real, his home address. They said you residing in the jail right now. Okay, you in prison. Okay. On information and belief, at all relevant times, Combs owned and or controlled Bad Boy Entertainment Holdings Incorporated, Bad Boy Production Holdings Incorporated, Bad Boy Books Holdings Incorporated, Bad Boy Records LLC. I'm not all of the businesses, all the things of the things. Okay. But I don't know why they're not naming his mother. His mother owns these companies. Diddy's name is not the only person. Like I said, I don't even think his name's on these companies because someone that I know that is, had a family member that was affiliated with this bad boy and has had dealings with them, said that Janice, her name is on this paperwork, okay? So, yeah. Defendant Daddy's House Recordings is a domestic business corporation that is incorporated in New York and, on information and belief, now has its principal place of business at 9255 Sunset Boulevard on the second floor of West Hollywood, California. Combs is listed as the CEO in public findings, with a listed address of 1710 Broadway, New York, New York 1019. At the time of the events alleged herein, Daddy's House was a world-class recording studio owned by Combs, located at 321 West 44th Street. See, Daddy's House, not Bad Boy, okay? Daddy's House is this new record label, okay, that Diddy is CEO. But Bad Boy Records, that was not under Diddy's name. That was under his mother's name, okay? On information and belief, the Bad Boy recording studio was located on the premises of Daddy's House. Combs used the Daddy's House brand, stature, and their ownership and titles at Daddy's House to commit the unlawful sexual violence against the defendant CEOPCO LLC, doing business as Combs Global, is a limited liability company incorporated in Delaware that has its principal place of business at 9255 Sunset Boulevard on the second floor in West Hollywood, California. On information and belief, all members of Combs Global are citizens of Delaware, New York, and California. On information and belief, Combs Global is an alter ego for Combs and or a successor in interest to Combs and his other corporations, and or was established or used by Combs for the purpose, of moving, disposing of, and or insulating his assets, including in connection with his criminal activities, to avoid liability. Combs Global currently owns, controls, and oversees Bad Boy and Combs' other business ventures in the music, fashion, fragrance, beverage, marketing, film, television, and media industries. And this is what I'm saying. Like, if they're screens for him to move all this money around. Okay. And I'm pretty sure once they start digging and these lawsuits continue to grow, they're going to start doing more digging into these businesses and the paperwork and financials of these businesses. And they're going to uncover that there's some fishy business going on with this, because why would you need Combs Global to be incorporated in Delaware and you live in New York? The principal place of business is West Hollywood. Why would it need to be incorporated in Delaware? Why wouldn't it be incorporated in California or New York, where your addresses are listed? That just screams fishy business. Now, as part of his renowned Bad Boy record label and brand, Combs has established several corporate entities under the Bad Boy name over the past few decades, including but not limited to Bad Boy Entertainment Holdings, Bad Boy Productions Holdings, Bad Boy Books Holdings, Bad Boy Records LLC, Bad Boy Entertainment, and Bad Boy Productions. On information and belief, all Bad Boy corporate entities are alter egos for Combs. They're controlled and or directed by Combs, and they are or were established or used by Combs for the purpose of moving, disposing of, and or insulating his assets, including in connection with his criminal activities, and to avoid liability. So to avoid liability, that tells you they're not in his name. He has all these different entities in other people's names, addresses, states, to avoid liability. On information and belief, all active Bad Boy entities are now owned and controlled by Combs and or Combs Global. Combs used the Bad Boy premises, recording studio, and their ownership and titles at Bad Boy to commit the unlawful sexual violence against the plaintiff described herein. So I'm not going to read the rest of this. This is just describing the companies and the addresses of them. So I want to get down to the actual complaint. Okay, so defendants organizational does 1 through 10 are currently unknown entities who were owned and employed by, Defendant Sean Carter is a male who is, on information and belief, maintains residences in both New York and Los Angeles. Defendant Carter is more commonly known by his industry name of Jay-Z. Carter was identified in the plaintiff's original complaint as Celebrity A. Prior to the filing of this amended complaint, Carter received a letter from the plaintiff's counsel requesting a mediation to resolve this matter. Upon present information and belief, Jay-Z responded to said letter by not only filing an utterly frivolous lawsuit, but by also orchestrating a conspiracy of harassment, bullying, and intimidation against the plaintiff's lawyers, their families, employees, and former associates in an attempt to silence the plaintiff from naming Jay-Z herein. This effort was meant to scare the plaintiff and to discredit her counsel. Now, I'm going to agree that I feel like he was trying to bully and intimidate them, because why would you say in your statement that you from the projects and y'all have a code of conduct in the projects? Now, he did say the code of conduct was you don't hurt, women and children and older people, stuff like that. But he also, was insinuating that they deal with things like that and they don't snitch, and that whole we can handle our business. The fact that he wants Jane Doe's name to be revealed in his countersuit, in his complaint, Jay-Z wants Jane Doe's name to be revealed. He wants the public to know who she is. To me, that is also because he wants to know who she is. Okay? And he's demanding that she be exposed because I feel like he want to know who she is so he can go intimidate her, intimidate the family, or have someone else intimidate her or intimidate the family. Okay. So I'm not quite sure if he knows who she is. I would think he does know who she is, because he said that she has her and her attorney or representatives. They have previously tried to get money or tried to, meet with him or tried to extort him. I don't think that they tried to get money. I think that they tried to have a mediation. They wanted to discuss this. I don't know if they tried to do a settlement or money was involved. I don't know. But I would think that he knows who the person is. So if he knows who the victim is, and if this person was 13 at the time, why is it so important that her name be revealed? That makes me feel like you want to put a hit out on her, you know what I'm saying, without putting a hit out on her. So if something were to happen to her, her family members or something like that, it's like, oh, well, I didn't have anything to do with it. But really, you may have had something to do with it because you put it out there like you needed somebody to be dealt with. But you didn't say you wanted them dealt with. Because, people will go and handle things for people without them. I mean, look what happens to people on YouTube. People will go handle things for people that they are fans of, They feel like, the Beehive and all these people that love Jay-Z and love Beyonce and their family, they might go out and try to do something to this woman and her family. So him wanting Jane Doe to be revealed, that's another red flag for me. Now, it says, this court, okay, wait. That effort failed indeed. Plaintiff chose to file this amendment as a result of the egregious conduct perpetuated by Carter. Each of the Combs' corporations aided and abetted Combs in committing the unlawful sexual violence against the plaintiff described herein. Their alter egos for Combs, completely dominated by him and their use for his personal interest and to engage in wrongdoing which harmed the plaintiff and others, and or serve or have served as vehicles for Combs to move, dispose of, and insulate his assets, including in connection with his criminal activities. So, the factual allegations are, on or around September 7th of 2000, the plaintiff, who was then 13 years old, had a friend drive and drop her off near Radio City Music Hall in New York City so that she could try to attend the VMAs. Now, attending the VMAs was on the plaintiff's bucket list, and she believed she could gain entry. The plaintiff arrived at the venue and saw large crowds gathering as artists and entertainers began arriving. The plaintiff was very excited. As the event began, much of the crowd moved inside, but the plaintiff, without a ticket, remained outside with others and watched the VMAs on a jumbotron. Determined to get into the VMAs or an after party, she approached several limousine drivers parked nearby and attempted to talk her way into either. One of the limousine drivers she spoke to claimed to work for defendant Combs. The driver told her that Combs liked younger girls and said that she fit what Diddy was looking for. And while not allowing her into the awards, the driver invited her to an after party. The driver stated that he had to drive Combs and others to the after party first, but instructed the plaintiff to return to his location after the event and that he picked her up and he would take her to the after party. Later that evening, the plaintiff excitedly returned to the same location and waited for what seemed to her a long time. The driver eventually returned and drove her what he described as the after party and drove her to, I guess it should say, he drove her to the after party. After approximately 20 minutes, the plaintiff arrived at what she believed to be a large white residence with a gated U-shaped driveway. Once inside, two men asked the plaintiff to sign a document which the plaintiff did not read, but which she now believes to have been a non-disclosure agreement. She was told that she could not discuss what happened at the party. She gave the men her name and signed the form, but did not receive a copy. Inside the building, the plaintiff recognized many celebrities as she entered what appeared to be a large living room or foyer containing a large crowd. The plaintiff attempted to mingle in the crowd and talk to several of the celebrities that she recognized and whom she had wanted to see at the VMAs. Wait staff circulated through the room carrying trays of drinks, and loud music played throughout the venue. The plaintiff observed widespread drug use, including marijuana and cocaine. After attempting to talk to numerous celebrities, the plaintiff accepted a drink from one of the waitresses circulating the crowd. The drink was a reddish yellow mixture that tasted like orange juice, cranberry juice, and something bitter. After drinking just a portion of that drink, the plaintiff began to feel woozy and lightheaded, making her need to lie down. A photograph of an actual exemplary container used by Combs and or his agents, employees to insert GHB into alcoholic drinks is seen below. So this is supposed to be, I guess, an actual container used. This is a pen and some type of container they use to put GHB into drinks. So I guess they're saying this comes from activities of Diddy. This isn't like, I guess, just like this is actually from an event. Looking for a place to rest, the plaintiff walked down what appeared to be a hallway containing several rooms off of it. She entered what appeared to be an empty bedroom so she could lie down for a moment. She did not lock the door. This room contained only a large bed with no furniture of any other kind, television, or other furnishings, just a bed. Soon after, Combs entered the room, along with defendant Carter and a female celebrity, Celebrity B. The plaintiff immediately recognized all three of the celebrities. Combs aggressively approached the plaintiff with a crazed look in his eyes, grabbed her, and said, "You are ready to party." Combs then threw plaintiff toward a wall, causing the plaintiff to fall. Plaintiff got up and stumbled, at which point Combs grabbed her again and threw her on the bed. At that point, Carter began removing the plaintiff's clothes as she grew more and more disoriented. The plaintiff was held down by Carter as he vaginally raped her while Combs and Celebrity B, the female celebrity, watched. After Carter finished, he stepped back toward the wall. Combs then stepped forward and vaginally raped the plaintiff while Carter and Celebrity B watched. Combs then knocked the plaintiff down and attempted to force the plaintiff to perform oral sex on him. She fought back standing up quickly and punching out at the same time, hitting Combs in the neck. Taken aback, Combs stopped his attempt. When Combs backed away in surprise, plaintiff grabbed her clothes and shoes and ran out of the bedroom, holding her dress in front of her like a towel. She ran around the residence until she found the front door and was able to leave the party. Although there were other guests still at the party, no one appeared to take notice of the plaintiff's distress or attempted to help her. Once outside, the plaintiff put her clothes back on and left the scene in the dark. Plaintiff attempted to retrace the route taken by the limo driver. She kept running until she reached a gas station she noticed on the way to the party. A female clerk noticed her distress and allowed her to use the phone. Plaintiff called her father, admitted that she had lied about her whereabouts, and asked him to pick her up. The plaintiff's father arrived to pick her up shortly before dawn. After the assault, the plaintiff fell into a deep depression, which continues to affect every facet of her life. Plaintiff suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder and seizure disorder caused by stress and trauma. The plaintiff has had difficulty maintaining normal relationships and lives largely withdrawn from society. First cause of action. The plaintiff hereby incorporates each of the foregoing paragraphs as it fully set forth herein. By forcing sexual contact onto the plaintiff as a minor female, defendants Combs and Carter committed a crime of violence motivated by gender under the Victims of Gender Motivated Violence Protection Act. The requirement that the crime of violence be committed because of gender or on the basis of gender and due at least in part to an animus based on the victim's gender is satisfied because defendants Combs and Carter forced this minor to engage in sexual interaction without consent. Jane Doe could not effectively consent because of her age. The non-consensual sexual touching of a minor herein presented a serious risk of physical injury and in fact caused such injury. Gender animus inheres when consent is absent. Combs' long history of violence and sexual abuse against women evinces a deep contempt and desire for domination over women. All right, so this is just more of the same, and that's basically the end of it. It doesn't really say anymore. It just really says that, and then it says what it is that she wants. The plaintiff respectfully requests that the judgment be entered against the defendant as follows: awarding compensatory damages for all physical injuries, emotional distress, psychological harm, anxiety, humiliation, physical and emotional pain and suffering, family and social disruption, and other harm in an amount to be determined at trial. Awarding punitive damages in an amount to be determined at trial. Awarding attorney's fees and costs pursuant to any applicable statute or law. Awarding pre- and post-judgment interest on all such damages, fees, and or costs. Attaching any and all of the defendant's real property and other assets located in the state of New York pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure, and awarding such other and further relief as the court may deem just and proper. So I guess she wants their property and assets to be, I don't know. What do you call that? I can't, the name, what do you do? What is that? When they want seized, right? She wants the property seized. Michelle says, wasn't it said that all the victims have to reveal themselves at some point? I don't know. But I do know when, with minors, like if they were minors at the time, I don't think that they can put their photos out, even though they're adults now. I don't think they can put the minor photos out. So that if they were minors at the time that they took the photos, I don't think that those photos can be revealed. But I think maybe but I know that the video that we did earlier today, The first person that claimed to be Jane Doe in that first lawsuit with Diddy, the girl Misha, it's now been found that she's not Jane Doe, that it's actually an ex-wife of a soccer player or something like that. And this girl claimed that she said that was her sitting on Diddy's lap. That was her laying on that table. That was her. That was her. That was her. She carried Diddy out of a burning building. She unalived a baby. They had her stabbing up a baby. She has so many details that really seem believable. And she had people arguing in them comment sections, okay? And come to find out that she's not the Jane Doe. Now, people are saying that doesn't mean that she's not telling the truth about what happened. Maybe these things still did happen between her and Diddy, and maybe she did experience these things, but she's just not that Jane Doe, but she was there and did go through these things. So now she's saying she was the girl on the table. So the same way they had to prove and keep going with her until she admitted that she wasn't the girl in the D&G, in the blouse, and she wasn't the one point that it wasn't her. That's the same way they're going to have to keep going after her until she admits that she's not the girl on that table either. So a lot of people is saying, child, Misha, go get some help. And I agree with that, because if you can sit there and make up that kind of a story and cry, just on demand and at will like that, that's serious. That's serious mental illness. Okay. All right. So now Jay-Z has a response. Okay. Jay-Z has filed his own countersuit or complaint. Now, this is all in civil court, mind you. This isn't criminal. And that's something else that Jay-Z is saying. If all of this has been done to a minor, allegedly, this was done, then you need to file a criminal complaint, a criminal case, not a civil case, because you just want money. And that's what his argument is. So let's read Sean Carter's response. Introduction. For months, an extortionate campaign. Now, I expect this to be elaborate. So if I get tongue-tied reading this one, I expect this to be, it's 29 pages. I expect this one to be detailed with big words and a lot of going on, because that statement had a lot of going on. For months, an extortionate campaign has been targeting this named defendant under cover of darkness. That campaign was cynical and calculated to force payment of an exorbitant sum of money. Defendant would have to pay X millions of dollars irrespective of the truth or else. So they're saying that this Jane Doe has been contacting Jay-Z and his representatives for months, okay? And they've been running a campaign to extort Jay-Z. They want millions of dollars. They want him to pay up or else. When defendant refused to pay and instead took measures to establish his innocence, this unnamed plaintiff and her self-promoting counsel, whose name has been splashed across headlines and press conferences under auspices of representing her, went to extraordinary lengths to shut down fair defense. But those efforts, too, failed. Now at last, the false, unfounded allegations that underlie this campaign of extortion are having judicial light shined on them, except that this plaintiff is bringing them as a doe who would continue to hide under cover of darkness. Because that tactic is inconsistent with a genuine effort to determine the truth or falsity of these allegations, as opposed to an effort to procure a quick extortionate settlement, defendant is respectfully seeking either dismissal of the allegations or disclosure of the plaintiff's identity. Fair is fair. It is not consistent with justice, fairness, or the rules governing federal proceedings for the plaintiff and her counsel to smear defendant's good name in ways that are calculated to feed media coverage and thus inflict maximum public relations damage, while the core fact of the plaintiff's identity, revelation of which stands to discredit her entire case, remains wholly hidden from view. See, this is what I'm saying. This is too much. This is too much words, too many. It's too much. Just say what you're going to say. They're being cynical. It's too much. Whereas the Doe's status is reserved for truly extraordinary cases and predicated upon extraordinary justification, here a multitude of powerful considerations cut precisely the opposite direction, as other judges of this court have ruled in cases involving the same circumstances. Defendant Shaw Carter, aka Jay-Z, has built an impeccable reputation. He has never been accused of, let alone engaged in, any sexual misconduct until today, when the plaintiff, in an amended complaint filed by attorney Anthony Busby, has leveled baseless allegations and accused Mr. Carter of despicable acts while hiding behind the pseudonym Jane Doe. These claims are not about justice for victims, nor are they about giving victims of sexual violence a voice. Instead, they are merely the next chapter in attorney Busby's sprawling extortion saga. A saga whose aim is base and measured in dollars. Busby has devoted himself to the business of extracting large settlements from celebrities, high net worth individuals, and businesses with any public ties to Sean Combs, aka Diddy, Puff Daddy, PD, and Love, following his indictment for sex crimes in September of 2024, to which Jay-Z you have never said a word about. This is the closest that we've gotten to him acknowledging that Diddy is indicted for sex crimes. References to justice or sunlight serve only as window dressing. Make no mistake, this case is not about retaliating against the rare target who would not pay. Attorney Busby has a history of targeting celebrities by making false allegations of misconduct, and Mr. Carter sought to expose Attorney Busby's latest extortion scheme and California lawsuit on November 18th of 2024 after receiving a demand letter from Attorney Busby. At the time, Attorney Busby knew who Mr. Carter was, even as Mr. Carter remained in the dark, as he does today, about the identity of Mr. Busby's client. So here it says that Jay-Z doesn't even know who Jane Doe is. See, it says here, at the time, Attorney Busby, he knew who Mr. Carter was, but Mr. Carter remained in the dark, as he does today, about the identity of Mr. Busby's client. So the fact that Jay-Z wants her to be made, known and revealed, to me, he wants to know who she is. Why is that so important? Why can't you wait until the day of court? Or, why do you have to know right now? Why should the public, because you want her to go through public scrutiny. You want her to be dragged for filth by the beehive. You want her to be ridiculed so much, that y'all got millions of fans, and y'all know that that is a lot on someone. And if she's already been through what she's alleging in this lawsuit, then that would be even more of emotional distress on her, and she just might drop the case. She might drop the suit, and that's probably what they would be hoping for. Either that, or they want to know who she is because they want to try to take her on up out of here. Why is that so important for you? Okay. Plaintiff and attorney Busby now bring these claims against Mr. Carter in a clear act of retaliation, as the complaint admits on its face. While Mr. Carter was being extorted, He could not speak out without revealing his identity and the heinous allegations made against him, which are patently false. That would be playing into Attorney Busby's game and the leverage he is wielding. The upshot would be highly sensational and equally false. Allegations being broadcast across social media and the press, thereby maximizing the pressure exerted against extortion targets to satisfy his monetary demands, irrespective of the truth. Because Mr. Carter called upon the courts rather than paying, he has now been sued. So be it. One way or another, Mr. Carter is entitled and positioned to exonerate himself through the legal process. In this case, he will vigorously defend himself and expose the truth, that the allegations in the complaint are false. But disclosure of plaintiff's identity is among the most essential basic tools that can and should enable Mr. Carter to vindicate himself. Mr. Carter should not have to defend himself in the brightest of spotlights against an accuser who hides in complete darkness while leveling allegations that describe the purported acts occurring in the plain sight of witnesses who could refute the plaintiff's claims if only her identity was revealed. So he's saying here that, okay, so Princess says, knowing your accuser helps with defense. It doesn't have to be public. He wants this to be public. So if she comes out and if her identity is made known, then everyone's going to know about it because it's going to be on the public records. Okay, so it's not going to just be him. Definitely, we understand that it would help with the defense because like he's saying here, then we would know who she is. And then people that she's claiming saw all of this, they could probably maybe say, oh, now, no, that didn't happen. But she was 13 at the time. So how would anybody, she was a nobody. She wasn't somebody that they're going to remember. She was somebody that they just picked up off the street. So it's not like she was another celebrity or she was a big name or she was a kid star. She was literally a 13-year-old that didn't have any money to go to the MTV or the VMAs. And so knowing who she is going to do what? I feel like they want to know who she is because they want her to be dragged by the beehive, dragged by their fans. They want to put pressure on her, because he's having pressure put on him. Him and Beyonce are not used to being scrutinized in the press. They're not used to having any dirty laundry or anything coming out about them. So this is humiliating and embarrassing for him. And of course, if it's not true, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. He's innocent until proven guilty. Yes, he is. But I don't think if she's a victim and if this happened when she was 13, y'all can forget about seeing pictures. You're not going to see pictures. That's why they have the victim that was 17. That's why they have her face blurred out, because at the time when these things occur, and if they're minors, you can't show their face. So you're not going to see pictures of this girl at 13. You will see pictures of her as an adult, but not as a minor. So, in the American judicial system, lawsuits are public by their nature and their design. The public is meant to know the facts involved and the identities of the parties. Indeed, federal law requires that all parties litigate using their true names. Parties are exempt from this mandate only in exceptional cases, where, for instance, allowing the party to proceed anonymously will protect him or her from physical violence, deportation, imprisonment, or severe harassment. And they're saying it right there. That's exactly what it would protect them from. That's why they would use a Jane Doe or want to be anonymous. So they're saying right here, to me, they want her to be known because they want the public to know who she is. Here, the plaintiff has chosen to sue Mr. Carter anonymously using the pseudonym Jane Doe, yet has not alleged any facts that would allow her to sidestep the federal mandate requiring that all parties must litigate using their true names. So they're saying here that she hasn't really detailed any heinous violence or nothing is exceptional that she has alleged. They don't feel like what she stated in her complaint is enough to be listed as a Jane Doe. What do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments. Do you think her saying that, she was she was drugged, she had 3 people standing around as she was, 2 watching as one would do something, then another one would take a turn, and then the other 2 would watch again. Like, you don't think that that's heinous enough as a 13-year-old? Let me know. To the contrary, her falsely incredible allegations indicate that, unlike in many cases of alleged sexual misconduct, she's already been exposed in plain sight to countless witnesses whose truthful accounts would be helpful and properly informed by specification of her identity. So they're saying, like, people already know who you are if they witness this event. I disagree with that, because like I said, she was 13 at the time. This was way back in 2000. And I don't think that if anybody were to see her on the street, they would have recognized her, now and back then. So I don't think that them saying who she is would help the witnesses that she's claiming that have been around, that they would even know her. It's many, many, many years ago. So, I don't agree with this part right here. I think that she should be allowed to remain a Jane Doe. If she was AR'd by Diddy and Sean Carter, and then a female was there watching, if she's been traumatized, she has PTSD, all these things, I believe she should be able to remain a Jane Doe, because it's going to be a lot of scrutiny. It's going to be a lot of fans. Y'all know how crazy the Beehive is. And as soon as they look at what happened with Jen and with Nicki Minaj and, Jennifer Huff, as soon as people knew who she was, look what happened to her life. So as soon as people know who this Jane Doe is, she's going to be getting death threats. People might start following her. If she has children, they're going to be followed. It's going to be a lot. And I feel like that's what they want. And that's what they're saying. That's what this lawyer is saying in this paperwork. He's not coming straight out saying it, but I feel like this is what he means. He wants her to be publicly known because he wants the public to know who she is. Notably, she's not claimed severe harassment, threats of violence, or any ongoing interaction with Mr. Carter beyond communications through her attorney, nor has the plaintiff even submitted an affidavit alleging these types of special circumstances. Instead, she relies solely on a self-serving declaration from Attorney Busby. Attorney Busby's affidavit does not indicate how an attorney from Texas is competent to testify as to the mental state of the plaintiff, let alone how he has personal knowledge of what happened to her in New York to supposedly cause that mental state. The declaration does little more than parrot Busby's own motivations and a legal standard. That is, it does not provide any actual facts indicating that the plaintiff is in need of extraordinary protection. I feel like Beyonce and Jay-Z and even just Jay-Z, being the figure that he is, just that alone is cause for her to have protection, extraordinary protection. We're not dealing with regular people. We're dealing with a billionaire. We're dealing with a recording artist, someone that is very largely connected. We're not dealing with just a regular Joe Schmo. So I really feel like she should have extraordinary protection by remaining a Jane Doe. Suffice it to say that attorney proffered innuendo and generic accusations do not suffice to justify why Mr. Carter and the American public should be denied access to the plaintiff's identity in this highly public litigation. Bam! See? I wasn't born yesterday. I told you they want the public to know. You see, it says it right there. Why can't Mr. Carter and the American public be denied access to her identity? So this isn't about the defense. This is about her being made publicly known so that she can be literally dragged, harassed by Jay-Z's fans. If anything, this case presents an extraordinary need to follow the ordinary rules of litigation and have both parties proceed under their actual names. Attorney Busby has for months taken to traditional and social media to describe how he planned to target celebrities in connection with these allegations, and he has now issued multiple social media posts about this action, as he should, because these celebrities, actors, politicians, these people have been getting away with these things for too long. There's too many claims of sex trafficking. There's too many claims of rape. There's too many claims by women about what goes on in the industry, what goes on at these after parties, what goes on at Diddy's house, what goes on at so-and-so. It's too much. Some of the stuff that has been described is just deplorable. And it's about high time this stuff is exposed so that it can be eradicated. It can be done away with. How many children, how many people going to have to keep suffering, keep being, sacrificed to the industry, to these people's sadistic, nasty desires, sick. They want children, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds. Why do they go and get children and take them to these events? You got all the women that you can have standing out there ready to throw their panties at you, ready to go to be groupies, and you go pick the 13-year-old. Oh, yeah, you're Diddy's type. Meet me back here at such and such time. And I'm going. Now, she is a child. We know she didn't have no business going back, but she's 13. She's infatuated by celebrities. She thinks she's going to go see the celebrities that was at the VMAs. She want to talk. You see how it says in the lawsuit, she was attempting to speak to him. She was attempting to talk and make conversation with the celebrities that she wanted to see at the VMAs. None of them want to have anything to do with her, child. They ain't care nothing about no small talk. They was there getting high, passing around drugs, she said. Okay? So her as a 13-year-old, we cannot blame her and say, well, she went. She shouldn't have went back there. Where was her parent? She snuck out. What 13-year-old, 14-year-old, back then in the 90s, 2000s, it was a different world than we living in today. People back in the 80s hitchhiked, okay, across country, going to festivals, music festivals and stuff. So it was different back then. It was a little safer. People did things that they damn sure wouldn't do now. Okay. So sneaking out, going to this event, and she probably looked grown, probably had makeup on, probably was dressed, trying to look seductive or whatever. Or she could have had on hip hop clothes. Who knows? But in any event, allegedly, she was taken back to this after party where all these celebrities were doing what they do and nobody cared about what was happening to her. It's ridiculous. All of this needs to be exposed. Thus, the plaintiff, through her counsel, has acted quite unlike a party who wants to minimize the amount of public attention on this matter. Instead, Busby has attempted to leverage public scrutiny to taint a potential jury pool and put pressure on Mr. Carter to settle this meritless case. In those circumstances, it would be extraordinarily unfair if the plaintiff could continue to hide behind the shield of anonymity, while leveraging public interest in this case strategically to pressure the defendant. So they're saying if she's allowed to remain anonymous, then the jury's going to be tainted and Jay-Z's not going to get a fair trial. Furthermore, the allegations here describe serious criminal violations. It is fundamental in the American legal tradition that a person accused of such actions has the right to know the identity of the accuser and confront that person in open court. Okay, fine. You know the identity of the accuser, but why does the public need to know? Okay, so if I'm the judge, maybe if I go along with this, I'll say, you know what, Mr. Carter, you got the right to know who your accuser is, but you're not to expose her. You're not to put her name out to the public. We're not going to let the public know who she is. But you, sir, yes. Now, if she come up missing, then you're going to know who did it. Moreover, the amended complaint itself makes clear what this is all about. Not justice, but a quick and large settlement against a celebrity. The amended complaint on its face alleges that Busby chose to sue Mr. Carter because he fought back against Busby's extortionate tactics. I really don't believe that this is an extortion attempt, because I feel like, why did this Jane Doe need to come out now against if this was extortion, she could have been came out years ago and tried to sue Jay-Z. I think she is doing it now because she's not afraid, because Diddy is in jail, and a lot of people now are feeling brave that other, victims are coming forth. They feel like, okay, Diddy, he's powerful, but they got him locked up now. He can't harm me. He can't send nobody after me to unalive me or anything like that. So I feel like maybe now that's why she's coming forth. If she was just trying to extort Jay-Z, she could have been did that years ago. So I believe that there could be some validity to this, which is why Jay-Z is responding the way he is. Immediately a countersuit, immediately a statement that is goddamn 10 paragraphs long. And you want to emphatically know who this woman is? Because what do you want to try to remember? You've done this so many times, you don't know who it is. You know what I mean? Like, when you want to know who a person is, it's screaming to me, you trying to recollect some things. Was it this night or was it that girl? And then when you know who she is and you see the photo, then it's going to bring back memories. Because really, how would you even know? She was 13. She was somebody that she's a no-name. So you wouldn't recognize her from the industry, but you damn sure, if you did this to her, you would damn sure remember that. As Busby subsequently tweeted, Mr. Carter's conduct in defending himself has had the opposite impact, because in Busby's word, Jay-Z is emboldened. And although the complaint alleges that another celebrity, the woman, Celebrity B, was also involved in the alleged actions, it does not reveal her identity. No doubt because Busby seeks to leverage his public allegations against Mr. Carter to extract a settlement from her. None of this is consistent with a genuine effort to seek justice and truth. I don't know why he put from her. You're saying that he wants to extract a settlement from Mr. Carter, but they want to not reveal the identity of the Celebrity B, of the woman, because you're saying that we're not trying to leverage any allegations against her. We're only going to trying to get money from Mr. Carter. They want him to settle. So whoever Celebrity B is, it's not an issue. So then to me, this sounds like they're saying they want to know who Celebrity B is. We want to know who the woman is, because we don't know. They haven't listed the name of Celebrity B. So this complaint is screaming to me, there is something to it. Jay-Z want to know who's the woman and who is Celebrity B, because I want to try to remember if this really did happen. If you know for a fact that you didn't do something, you don't need to know the people's names. I don't need to know who they are. I know I didn't do it. I don't need to know who Celebrity B is. I never been in that situation. And I don't need to put it out in the public. If I want to know who these people are for my defense, we can keep it in my defense, but we don't have to let the public know. Didn't you say that you feel for your family? Your child is at an age now where her friends are probably seeing everything online and they're probably going to be questioning her about it. So you don't feel that the victim, knowing the victim's names, that Blue Ivy's friends is not going to see it online and say your dad did that to this woman? Having a name and putting a face to the name, you don't think that that would hurt your family even more? I think it would. So, like I said, knowing who the woman is more for the public than anything else. Because Jay-Z is he's going to know who she is. As it goes down the line, in this case, goes before the courts, he's going to be given the information, the discovery, the evidence, all of that, and he's going to know who she is. But he wants this to play out in the press, just like he's accusing that lawyer. He wants the same thing because he wants to put pressure so that she will drop the lawsuit. Same way you saying she wants settlement, you want to pressure. Trust me, he want to use that beehive, okay? Y'all know how the beehive is. Stormy says, right, they probably did it so often they forget who is who. That's sick. Michelle says, I feel like there's somebody that's going to step into his place once it's all over, if not already in the process. Just sick. Stormy says, they say this has been Hollywood's best kept secret for many years. Definitely. The young children, pedophilia is definitely, but I told you guys in previous videos, it's more than just sex. It's a lot of ritualistic things. And that's why Misha's story was so believable, because the stuff that she was describing goes with the narratives that we've heard about Hollywood and what we hear about the trafficking and what they do to kids. So that's why everybody was believing it. So this court should not allow the strategic abuse of the judicial system to continue. Mr. Carter deserves to know the identity of the person who is effectively accusing him in sensationalized, publicity-hunting fashion of criminal conduct, demanding massive financial compensation, and tarnishing a reputation earned over decades. I haven't seen any financial compensation. I haven't seen an amount. I just saw that they wanted damages. I didn't see a specific amount thrown out there. This court has recognized the nearly identical claims brought by other plaintiffs represented by Attorney Busby do not meet the criteria to proceed anonymously. Here, the balance of the equities afford all the more reason why this plaintiff should be proceeding under her true name, if she wishes to proceed at all. Now, the background. In an amended complaint filed on December 8th of 2024, the plaintiff sued Mr. Carter anonymously, using the pseudonym Jane Doe, without filing her own affidavit supporting her request for anonymity. Plaintiff instead relies solely on a declaration submitted by Attorney Busby. That declaration effectively parrots those Attorney Busby. That declaration effectively parrots those Attorney Busby has filed in other cases, alleging claims of sexual assault by Sean Combs and others. So they're saying that this Jane Doe didn't even put out her own complaint or affidavit, that this complaint is actually written by the attorney, and it sounds like the other cases that he's representing, it sounds like the same claims that these victims are making against Sean Combs. Now, I will say they do sound similar, because I even thought that myself when I was reading it, but I also, came to the realization that it would sound similar if this is something that you do all the time. One trick pony. A lot of us that are with our significant others, when we go to do the do in the bedroom, we already know the trick. Okay, he gonna put this leg up here. He gonna do this. Okay, we gonna be here for about 10 minutes. Like, we already know. It's like a ritual. It's like the same thing. It might be the same thing every day. It might be the same thing every night. So that's the same thing with this. It's like, if this is what this person is into, and they got, sadistic fantasies, pinch my nipples while you sucking my thing. I've heard this said that he likes his nipples pinched. So you might hear the same things over and over if this is something that he does. This is what he does. This is what he does. So the declaration parrots, it says, instead, it only makes broad and generalized assertions about Attorney Busby's other clients, meaning Mr. Combs. Strikingly, an overwhelming number of these clients, likely in excess of 80%, have stated to me or attorneys at my firm during their intake process that Mr. Combs made threats of violence against them or against clients' family members if the client disclosed to anyone the facts of the sexual assaults or other acts of Mr. Combs's of which they were a victim. I guess that's an excerpt from, a statement that Attorney Busby has said. In at least 2 cases filed by Attorney Busby with this declaration, other courts in this district have already denied his baseless motions to proceed anonymously for failure to meet the burden to show each plaintiff was entitled to the exceptional remedy of being anonymous. Okay, so he's saying that the courts have already thrown out some of these lawsuits. The court concludes that the balance or really thrown out being allowed to remain anonymous. So they're saying they should do the same with this one. The court concludes that the balance of interest at stake weighs strongly against granting the plaintiff's motion, where plaintiff, who is an adult, has now decided to file a lawsuit in which she accuses a famous person of engaging in heinous conduct 20 years ago. And the defendants have a right to defend themselves, including by investigating the plaintiff, and the people have a right to know who is using their courts. So they're saying that they have a right to do a background check, investigate who she is. That's why they want to know her name. And we have a right to know, as the public, who is in our courtrooms. I don't need to know her name. I don't need to know who's using the courts. All I need to know is what happened. All I need to know, are you guilty? That's all I need to know. I really don't need to know this woman's name. I don't need to see the woman's face. I really don't. Those cases concern Combs, who is under indictment and has been detained following a raft of criminal and civil allegations against him. But the plaintiff has now sought to sully the reputation of Mr. Carter, who has never been accused of misconduct in his 37 years. So they're saying here, listen, all that other shit is Diddy. It's not Mr. Carter. You trying to put Mr. Carter with Diddy, and we're not about to do that, because my client in his whole 37 years, adult years, has never been accused of misconduct. The plaintiff has not come close to meeting her burden here, and the balance of equities that she litigates under her true name. There is every indication that this lawsuit is not truly about the plaintiff, but about Attorney Busby's larger unsavory agenda. Despite the plaintiff's request to proceed anonymously, the plaintiff's counsel is doing everything to draw widespread attention to her. The same day the amended complaint was filed naming Mr. Carter, Attorney Busby posted an Instagram and Twitter prominently featuring himself, addressing the amended complaint and making clear this is not about his clients, but it is about his personal spat with Mr. Carter. So this is the post Tony Busby posted on Twitter regarding the Jay-Z case and his efforts to silence my clients. Mr. Carter previously denied being the one who sued me and my firm. He filed his frivolous case under a pseudonym. What he fails to say in his recent statement is my firm sent his lawyer a demand letter on behalf of an alleged victim, and that victim never demanded a penny from him. Instead, she only sought a confidential mediation. Since I sent the letter on her behalf, Mr. Carter has not only sued me, but he has tried to bully and harass me and this plaintiff. His conduct has had the opposite impact. She is emboldened. I'm very proud of her resolve. As far as the allegations in the complaint filed, we will let the filing speak for itself and will litigate the facts in court, not in the media. He also posted this picture of himself as a platoon commander. Recognize this guy? This is a picture of the weapons platoon commander, Alpha Company 1st Battalion, 4th Marines, from our old Western Pacific cruise book. Despite a coordinated and aggressive effort that has included harassing my kids, contacting my clients and former clients to encourage them to sue me, contacting my colleagues or former employees, asking if I've abused them, showing up at my current employees' homes to harass them, filing frivolous cases against me and my law firm, defaming me with outrageous assertions to anyone who will listen, and having mysterious people follow me and my family. I'm still that guy. I won't be bullied or intimidated. People will see through this effort to discredit me and my clients, and the truth will be revealed. I also won't allow anyone to scare my clients into silence. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, and I am quite certain the sun is coming. So, this attorney is saying here, honey, that they got people following him. Didn't I just say that? They want her name to be revealed, and they want to know who she is so they can do the same thing to her. They can have her, she's got kids, they'll follow her kids, show up at school, show up places and intimidate them. They want to be able to do these things. This is what people that have money and feel like they have power and feel like they're above the law. Jay-Z and Beyonce feel like they are that couple, that they can't be touched. They shouldn't be talked about. There shouldn't be any bad press on them. They are that type. Mama Tina don't like to be talked about in the media. Mama Tina hate for Jay-Z and Beyonce to be spoken of in the media. Do we hear anything from Mama Tina? Did Mama Tina make a statement? I would be shocked if she didn't make a statement. I'm pretty sure she got a long statement on her Instagram, Twitter, somewhere. Because Mama Tina don't play that. She do not play about Jay-Z and Beyonce. So I feel like, yeah, they want this woman to be known because they want to be able to bully, harass. And like I said, if she come up missing, we're going to know why. What is more, Attorney Busby has made numerous and social media posts and statements to the media regarding his reputation of individuals with allegations against Sean Combs, including that he would target other unnamed celebrities. These statements began a couple weeks after Mr. Combs' indictment and continued after plaintiff, through Attorney Busby, sent Mr. Carter unfounded demand letters in November of 2024, falsely accusing him of rape. These baseless claims, unsupported by evidence, are nothing more than a calculated effort to strong-arm Mr. Carter into submission. When Mr. Carter proved unwilling to pay, Attorney Busby escalated his tactics and schemed further, threatening to conjure additional false accusations and manufacturing a parade of fictitious additional victims to emerge and further damage Mr. Carter's reputation. So they're saying that this attorney has threatened to bring more people forward. Okay, allegedly. They're saying that he has said, hey, if you don't pay, I got more people coming out the woodworks. So if that is true, then I'm pretty sure that'll be, you should have some emails. There should be some communication. You should have receipts that shows that Mr. Busby did this. So I will be expecting that in discovery or, be presented in exhibits. To coerce Mr. Carter into compliance, the plaintiff and Attorney Busby imposed an arbitrary deadline in their extortionate demand letter, warning Mr. Carter that they would take a different course if he did not agree to a confidential mediation to resolve this delicate and important matter. Now, just because they requested a mediation, that didn't say they requested money, but just playing devil's advocate and just being fair, what else would it be? So if you are requesting a mediation, you want your attorney, the victim, you want to meet with your the person you're accusing, the person that violated you at the age of 13, you want to meet with them. What would the mediation be about? If it's not about money and it's not a settlement, what would you be saying to him? You did this to me. I was a child. How could you? What would you actually say? Let me know in the comments. I mean, it definitely would be about money. I'm just calling it out. I'm just calling the thing a thing. That it would be. It wouldn't be about anything else. To resolve the matter, how would the matter get resolved? An apology? Is that what you would want? Without even waiting for the deadline provided by the extortionate demand letter to pass, Attorney Busby posted on social media that he intended to file a lawsuit naming Mr. Carter and attaching the extortionate demand letter to punish Mr. Carter for seeking redress from a court. All along, Mr. Carter refused to bow to Attorney Busby's scheme. Faced with a choice to either pay an exorbitant sum to silence the plaintiff's wild false allegations of sexual assault, risking irreparable harm to his reputation, family, career, and livelihood, or face a barrage of baseless lawsuits and financial ruin, Mr. Carter stood his ground. On November 18th of 2024, Mr. Carter filed a complaint against Attorney Busby and his law firm for his extortionate conduct. In retaliation, plaintiff and Attorney Busby filed the amended complaint. They did so, however, only followed a failed attempt by Attorney Busby to obtain a restraining order against Mr. Carter's counsel. Notably, the amended complaint acknowledges that plaintiff, through her counsel, Attorney Busby, is only bringing these false claims against Mr. Carter in retaliation for his failure to respond to her pre-litigation demand letter. Plaintiff goes so far as to accuse Mr. Carter of filing an utterly frivolous lawsuit, orchestrating a conspiracy of harassment, bullying, and intimidation against the plaintiff's lawyers, their families, employees, and former associates in an attempt to silence the plaintiff from naming Jay-Z. Rather than citing a desire for compensation for any actual harm suffered, because there was none, the plaintiff, through her counsel, apparently chose to file this amendment as a result of the egregious conduct perpetuated by Carter against Attorney Busby, quite different from the plaintiff. These tactics are designed to silence the other extortion victims who, like Mr. Carter, have been targeted by Attorney Busby, not based on their perceived culpability, but the depth of their pockets. Attorney Busby's tactics send a clear message. Any individual who resists extortionate demands will face public retaliation through highly publicized lawsuits. This strategy is designed to silence other victims of Attorney Busby's extortion while creating media spectacles to amplify unfounded claims and maximize monetary recoveries outside of court. That this plaintiff is suing only now, after Attorney Busby has been left stinging from personal rebukes and defeats, supplies positive proof of how he elevates his own interests above those of clients. Needless to say, this proceeding should not be driven by Attorney Busby's agenda or interests. It is about finding the facts, applying the law, and fairly adjudicating what is the actual truth. That I agree with. This shouldn't be about anything else. Shouldn't be about Attorney Busby's agenda, about Sean Carter's reputation, Beyonce's reputation, Mama Tina. Nobody. It should be about finding what is the truth, and if there is truth to any of this, applying the law appropriately. Mr. Carter now is entitled to defend himself against these allegations with benefit of all the protections and mechanisms available to defendants. To be sure, Attorney Busby's game has been to prevent Mr. Carter from defending himself while punching below the belt. Today, that game is at an end, and Mr. Carter's defense has begun, starting with the plaintiff's unmasking. On November 6, 2024, before Mr. Carter was named, the court provisionally granted the plaintiff's motion to proceed under a pseudonym in this case. Hold on, you guys. Sorry about that. Sorry. All right. At the same time, the only named individual was Mr. Combs, who was indicted and had a flood of allegations leveled at him by myriad plaintiffs at the same time. In that order, the court clarified that at the time it was entered, the balance of these interests may shift as this matter proceeds, and the defendants deserve to be heard on the issue. On December 8th of 2024, the plaintiff's counsel filed an amended complaint naming Mr. Carter an upstanding public figure who has never been accused of anything like this in his life. By plaintiff's own admission, Mr. Carter was named solely because Mr. Carter refused to cede to plaintiff's counsel's extortionate demands. Plaintiff's counsel knows he cannot continue to proceed with these lawsuits anonymously. Indeed, another judge in this very courthouse, considering precisely the same circumstances presented by the plaintiff here, declined to permit that plaintiff to proceed anonymously. Mr. Carter now brings this motion because circumstances have changed. What the amended complaint put at issue no longer reflects the interests of the plaintiff. It is now a vehicle serving the singular agenda of Attorney Busby. Lest there be any doubt, one need only look to the social media posts Attorney Busby made concurrent with this filing. It features no image or symbolism related to any purported victim of sexual assault. It features only Attorney Busby himself. Plaintiff's amended complaint should be dismissed and the motion to proceed anonymously denied as moot. In the alternative, the court should require the plaintiff to identify herself so that Mr. Carter can adequately defend himself against these baseless and spurious allegations. Now, the rest of this is the legal standard and talks about legalities. Now, the argument. Plaintiff's motion should be denied in full and her identity disclosed immediately, as required by the federal rules. The allegations in this lawsuit are not unique, nor are the circumstances exceptional so as to warrant the extreme accommodation of proceeding anonymously. Multiple judges in this very district to consider these issues have concluded as much and required the plaintiffs to provide the court, the defendants, and the public with their true names, even where the facts and circumstances were more supportive of relief. Because there is even less reasons to support anonymity and being anonymous here, the court should require the plaintiff to reveal her identity or dismiss her suit against Mr. Carter. So they're saying that she should be made to tell who she is. There have been judges in this very court where they are filing this suit that have made those plaintiffs disclose who they were. Okay? And specifically against Combs. Highly sensitive and personal allegations. The plaintiff's allegations, as pleaded, are highly sensitive and personal in that they describe a sexual assault. However, allegations of sexual assault by themselves are not sufficient to entitle a plaintiff to proceed under a pseudonym. So, courts in this district, again, have denied motions to proceed under a pseudonym despite concluding that the plaintiff's allegations were highly sensitive and personal. And then they just point to, different cases where they made these people disclose who they were. Risk of harm to the plaintiff or third parties. The second factor is whether identification poses a risk of retaliatory physical or mental harm to the plaintiff, or even more critically, to innocent non-parties. The plaintiff offers no evidence of any actual risk of harm to her whatsoever. Instead, Attorney Busby makes the speculative and conclusory allegations that appear to pertain primarily to other clients of her counsel, not to her. Courts have routinely rejected attempts by litigants to shoehorn themselves into the narrow exemption to the names disclosed rule through such conclusory secondhand declarations. Mr. Carter vehemently denies the allegations. He has no idea who the plaintiff is or who she could possibly be, and thus has had no known contact with the plaintiff for approximately 20 years since the alleged incident, which, even if it occurred, did not involve Mr. Carter, and there is no allegation of any threat to the plaintiff in the complaint. So how do you know you haven't had contact with her in 20 years if you didn't do it, or if you don't know who she is? Why would you need to make that statement? If I don't know who somebody is, I'm not going to say that I have not had any contact with this person in 20 years since the alleged incident. I'm just going to say, I don't know who this person is. Again, I feel like there's something to this. Maybe it's not as graphic. Maybe she wasn't 13. I don't know. But there's something to this, because the language in this suit and the language that Jay-Z is saying in his response is just too defensive. And then you just want to know who this girl is. You keep making reference. He doesn't know who she could be or is or was. He don't know if he saw her, was there. I feel like something, either you was at a party or you done been at so many parties of Diddy's. Y'all done got so high and so jacked up. It's foggy. You don't know if you did it, if you didn't, if you would. And we know back then, him and Beyonce, they had just started dating around that time, 2000. They really was just starting to fool around. So we don't know who that third person was. Was it Beyonce? Was it J-Lo? But it was a female. And if it was a female and it was a Jay-Z and a Diddy there, this female has to be connected to one of them. Why would you have a random female in there with you and you're not doing nothing to her, but y'all doing something to this 13-year-old? And the female is standing there with you and Diddy. Either she's with Diddy or she's with you. So it would have to be somebody that either one of them knew. Think about that. Because the people that they didn't know, they was assaulting. They were raping. Right? Okay. The plaintiff counsel stresses that other alleged victims he represents have stated that Mr. Combs made threats of violence against them or against client's family members. If the client disclosed to anyone the facts of sexual assaults, but there is certainly no allegation that Carter ever threatened to harm the plaintiff, nor could he, as he has no idea who she is. Let me read that again. Plaintiff's counsel stresses that other alleged victims he represents have stated that Mr. Combs made threats of violence against them or against the client's family members if the client disclosed to anyone the facts of the sexual assaults. So they're saying that Diddy would make threats of violence against them if they talked. Okay? But there is certainly no allegation that Jay-Z ever threatened to harm a plaintiff, nor could he, because he doesn't know who she is. See, I'm sorry. I feel like there's some guilt to this. I'm sorry. You right there. Okay, well, Diddy made threats, but Mr. Combs didn't. What? Why would that need to be put there if there is no guilt? There's just certain things I'm not going to say. Plaintiff's counsel asserts without offering any evidence that the plaintiff would certainly experience mental harm if she's forced to reveal her identity to the public. Yes, I feel like she would be. They're saying, no, that's not true. Nor is it sufficient for the plaintiff to put forth a generalized argument that revealing the identity of a victim of sexual assault would further victimize her. Yes, it would. Accepting such an argument would be to hold that nearly any plaintiff alleging sexual assault could not proceed anonymously, which simply is not the law in this circuit. Rather, courts require direct evidence linking disclosure of the plaintiff's name to a specific injury. One court in this circuit allowed a plaintiff to proceed anonymously where she submitted evidence from a medical professional who predicated that requiring disclosure of her name would cause psychological and emotional pain so intense that it would threaten her stability, her safety, and even her life. Even where such medical evidence is present, other factors may still tip the balance against permitting a plaintiff to proceed anonymously. They are so hung up on her being revealed. Regardless of what types of direct evidence might support such a finding, it is well established that counsel's conclusory statements and speculation about mental harm to the plaintiff is insufficient. Indeed, the plaintiff's own brief makes clear that the courts require evidence. Plaintiff's counsel has failed to provide any evidence. No statement from a mental health professional, no affidavit from the plaintiff herself, nor any corroborating proof to support the bare claim that disclosing plaintiff's identity would harm her mental health. The counsel's unsupported assertions are insufficient. The plaintiff must offer the court more than just mere speculation to justify proceeding anonymously. They spending more time worrying about her being anonymous than they are trying to prove that he's not guilty. While Mr. Carter is a public figure, this does not outweigh his and the public's right to the customary and constitutionally embedded presumption of openness in judicial proceedings. Here we go again. We need to know who she is. Plaintiff has chosen to bring this lawsuit, levying serious charges, and as such, she has put her credibility in issue. How? Moreover, her counsel has expended considerable time and energy publicizing this case, dragging Mr. Carter and countless other public figures into baseless litigation for his own pecuniary gain. Indeed, when Mr. Carter refused to succumb to the outrageous demands that Mr. Carter pay up, Attorney Busby immediately escalated, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to keep reading the same thing over and over. Let me see if there's any other tea in here. Again, plaintiff's age weighs against anonymity. Plaintiff is not especially vulnerable because in light of her age. Plaintiff is now an adult. She's 37 years old. She has not identified any reason for the court to treat her as more vulnerable than the great run of adult plaintiffs who bring allegations of sexual assault in their own names. Thus, the fourth factor weighs against the plaintiff's request to proceed under a pseudonym. Defendant's status as private parties weighs against anonymity. See, it's just more about that. Counsel's assertions that Mr. Carter or other defendants need not know the plaintiff's identity to file an answer and conduct discovery strain credulity. Plaintiffs asserts that defendants will still have the right to dispose or confer with any and all witnesses. Clearly, Mr. Carter needs to know the plaintiff's identity to dispose her and to prepare to dispose her. That much is given. But if Mr. Carter does not know who is falsely accusing him, he cannot thoroughly investigate her allegations and her background and otherwise prepare a defense to her claims. I get that. That I'm not disputing. Okay, he can know who she is to prepare his defense privately. I don't think that she needs to be publicly named. If you need to know to publicly embarrass her, just say that. Publicly humiliate, allow the Beehive to issue death threats. The attorney is already saying people follow him, his family members. He's already being bullied and harassed. You want to know her name and who she is so that y'all can do this. Now, you know that she's 37. Okay. You're saying that just because she was young back then, she's not young now. So she should not be listed as a Jane Doe because now she's of age. I just feel like she can be listed as a Jane Doe. And then if you need to know who she is to prepare your defense, fine. Do what you got to do. You need to do a background check. You want to do whatever. Because, see, that's what they want to do. They want to pull up her background to be able to discredit her and say, well, look what she did in her life. We don't know what she did in her after she turned, an adult and had to suffer from PTSD. We don't know. Maybe she became a drug addict. Maybe she became a prostitute. Maybe. And they would probably try to use that against her and say, well, look what type of person she is. Oh, well, back then when she was 13, she was cut in school. She had bad grades. She was in and out of, detention. Who knows what they want to try to say? Oh, yeah, she was that girl that was a groupie. We know who that is. That little girl, we used to see her all around. I feel like he want to know who she is because he feel like he already know who it could be. You know what I'm saying? I want to try to put a face to what I'm remembering happened in my mind. I just feel like him putting so much emphasis and making this such a big deal that she be named is screaming guilt to me. It's like something happened. All right. So all the rest of this is just about, again, identity. Identity. They're saying that they should be rejecting her remaining anonymous. They said it's a public smear campaign. They just want money. That's really all the rest of this is saying. I'm reading it, like just scanning over it. Saying he engaged in heinous conduct more than 20 years ago. There's really no details of anything specific. Conclusion, Mr. Carter would request this court revisit its provisional order permitting the plaintiff to proceed anonymously and require the plaintiff to refile her complaint with her true name. To the extent she fails to do so, Mr. Carter would request the court then dismiss the complaint for failing to satisfy the Federal Rule Civil P10A and for therefore failing to establish subject matter jurisdiction pursuant to Rule 12B1. I don't really see him saying he's not guilty. I don't really see this reading, although he did say a couple times, maybe they did say a couple times, like, Mr. Carter doesn't know who this person is. Mr. Carter, if Mr. Carter did this, they're saying things like that, but that still doesn't make it that he's saying, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought because I'm just perplexed here. Are you saying you're not guilty or what? You just want to know, you just are so stuck on who this woman is. What's her name? The public needs to know who she is. You're trying to use every excuse. Oh, the taxpayers' dollars. They need to know who's in their court system. No, we don't. That's not what the public want to know. Did you do this? The public want to know, are you a monster just like Diddy? The public wants to know this because Jay-Z, sir, maybe when this went down, when Diddy was first accused of all of this, maybe if you had spoke up, spoke out, spoke against, and said something about it instead of remaining quiet, then maybe the public would have a little bit more, sympathy and wouldn't be covering this and all over this as though, yeah, he did this. Yes, he was with Diddy and he did this. Because everybody has already been, speculating that Jay-Z could have something to do with some of these, and been at some of these freak offs, and had, him and Diddy are so close. And we know back in the day, y'all remember when Jay-Z was first growing these little things here, these little Basquiat dreads, because he want to be Basquiat. So these little Basquiat dreads that he was growing here, y'all remember when he was being seen with Diddy at the games and sitting in the stands, and he had them same shades or the other black shades on, and he always got his face looking like this. They was doing, who knows what they was doing. People said they was doing the hanky panky. So they were always seen together. And now that he is being accused of these things, Jay-Z is on mute. So I feel like if he had to come out a little sooner with some disdain, issued a statement saying, I can't believe this, or, even saying it's not true, something. But you remain quiet. Beyonce remained quiet. And then there was rumors that there was footage that Jay-Z paid for to be tapes that they had that they had discovered of Beyonce and Jay-Z at these parties, or just specifically Beyonce at Diddy freak-offs, that he paid a large sum of money to get these recordings. I mean, there's so much talk surrounding Diddy and Jay-Z with these alleged situations that I just feel like we're at the point now where the public just wants to know, did it happen? Did Jay-Z have something to do with any of these freak-offs? Did he have anything to do with harming minors? He has a minor of his own. He has a child. Blue Ivy is nearing that age of 13. Okay. And I do agree with the whole, she's at that age where she's on social media. Her friends are on social media. They see all this. Her friends' parents see all of this. But of course, because they're rich and they celebrities, people want to say, oh, it's a smear campaign. They just want money. But I bet you some of those parents are thinking in the back of their minds, he was friends with Diddy. We know what goes on at those Diddy parties. Okay. And then a lot of these celebrities, like I said too, their kids, grow up in the industry and they know what goes on with their parents. Diddy's kids know what he was doing as well. Some of them, they have the same tendencies and have been accused of the same things. They watched their dad. They probably attended some of these parties. They probably were encouraged to do these things with these minors and these victims that they had there as well. So I'm not in agreement with the fact that Jane Doe be made to expose who she is. I don't think that if the lawyers and Jay-Z need to know, that's for them to know. I don't think the public needs to know about that, because I feel like it's going to further damage her mentally, emotionally, if not physically, if she's not harmed. Okay. We know that Jay-Z is powerful. Beyonce is powerful. We know that they've been accused of look at what Beyonce was accused of by one of her band members, of being a witch and putting spells on her and killing her cat and, keeping her from her career blossoming. She accused Beyonce of doing some pretty dark things. So, these people want to know who this girl is and wanting her name to be put out there. I would fear for her life. I would fear for her safety. Okay. That's just how I see that. Yeah, Michelle, looking a damn fool. It's all crazy and no one thinks about what the victims are and have been going through. And I that's how I feel. Like, People are really not taking a look at this. If these things are true, it's insane. These are actual victims. These people went through these things as kids. Some of them were adults. I mean, can you imagine being drugged and then you wake up and somebody's doing something to you in your behind? Either they're inserting their own body part or they're putting something in you. And that it's being done to you so hard that you are sore, your whole body's sore leaving the place. Again, I'm going to bring up the whole, he had to put people, attach them to IVs and put vitamins back in them because they were exerting so much activity and exerting so much energy. So they would be just so worn out that they have to get vitamins and get, hooked up to an IV machine. That's a lot. Got to be given B12 and energy shots or whatever, And like I said before, what nurse was there administering these IVs? Because, when you run a line, you run an IV, that's straight through your vein. That's not something that you just take a needle and prick. You got to run a line. You know what I'm saying? You got to have a drip. That's a lot. That's not something that can just be done. So, I expect Jay-Z is one of the first celebrities to come out in connection with Diddy. I suspect that there are going to be more. There are going to be more victims and there's going to be more names named. I really believe that the celebrity B, the female celebrity, we're going to know who that is real soon. That's going to be exposed real soon. And it could either be, in my opinion, it could either be Beyonce or J-Lo. Because I feel like that's a personal, even if you are RN and, it's a personal thing. The girl was 13. She was underage. So when you're doing an act like that, and you know that you're doing something that is illegal, you're only going to have people around you that you could trust that get down with that sort of thing. Or they know you get down with that sort of thing. And for it to be a female, and if she wasn't being sexually assaulted, then it has to be someone that was connected to either one of them. Either connected to Beyonce, either connected to Jay-Z, or either connected to Diddy. And in my mind, that would have either been J-Lo or that would have either been Beyonce during that time. That's just my observation. Okay? So you guys, that's all I have for this. Like I said, please continue with the conversation down in the comment section. That was a lot of information to read. Thank you for sticking with, look at them. Look at this. Look, will somebody come look at this? Look. This picture just says it all. The bromance. The bromance that is Jay-Z and Diddy. When they look at each other and you see photos of them that are like this, it's very intimate. And it speaks to me, I know something, you know something, we know something that they don't know. You know what I'm saying? We did things together. You my bro. He said that Jay-Z's the only one that can call, Diddy is the only one that can call him. No, Jay-Z is the only one that can call him Sean. What is that telling you? They that close. They both named Sean. Sean Carter, Sean Combs. But Diddy said that Jay-Z is the only one that can call him Sean. So your mama can't call you Sean? Jay-Z the only one that could call you Sean? This is a lot. This is a lot. And can you just imagine how Beyonce would feel, Mama Tina would feel, Blue Ivy would feel to know that their dad could possibly have been a part of something like this, could have assaulted a 13-year-old. I feel like Beyonce would pack up and leave. Now, if she was Celebrity B, she ain't gonna pack up and leave because she was there and she participated. So she knows what the get down is. But then I feel like, why isn't she named in the lawsuit? Why she's not being sued as well? So she just stood by and watched, and you don't want to sue her. Okay, well, then I guess maybe if she just stood by and watched, she didn't touch her, she didn't do anything, I guess you can't sue her because you're saying she didn't cause you any harm. But I'm pretty sure all of this we'll know who she is. As time goes on, we will find out who she is. Hi, I am Marie. Good to see you, love. Hey, Kay, let's talk about it. Yes, Kay, let's talk about it. They are trying to intimidate her by forcing her to say who she is. That is all this counterclaim is about. This counterclaim right here, this countersuit right here, all it is about is Jay-Z wanting to know who this victim is, wanting the courts to make this person expose who they are. That's all this is about. That's it. Stormy says, we love you for doing all that reading for us. We love you and great video. Thank you. Michelle says, yup, that says a lot. Pretty much says it all. Stormy says, I believe she knows and indulges in it. I mean, you know, what do they say about TD Jakes? His wife, she knows. They just turn and look the other way. These women are trained in the industry to be with these men. They know that they're gay, that they like men. They marry them. They, you know, they're like the poster wife, you know. They're put on Front Street so that way they can put up a good front. You know, they're like arm candy. They just, so people won't know what's really going on. But hey, the world we live in today, nobody cares about anybody being gay. Child. Like I said, to me, it's more than just sex for these people. It is about control. It is about power. But like I said, and I'll keep saying it again, it's dark. It's about these rituals that they do. You know, now at these parties, they do get, you know, they getting drunk, they be getting, but a lot of it too with the sex trafficking and moving these kids around and having them in cages and underground, you know, all of that. It's more for their rituals, their parties where they're doing their satanic things. Okay. And you know what? We're going to get into a video about that. I got to figure out how to do it. I may have to do it on Patreon because YouTube probably will block that video. I have a lot of information on Hollywood parties, rituals that they do. I got some explicit photos of some rituals. I can't put that on YouTube. They would strike my page. They probably would take my page if I put that out there. So if you guys want to see something like that, if you're interested in content like that, let me know in the comment section below. Because I'm thinking about starting up the Patreon again. I'm going to lower the price though. It's not going to be the $13.99. It's going to be a little cheaper, but it's still going to be, you know, maybe at least $5 because the information is going to be pretty graphic. It's a lot of research, just like this video. This video is not going to be monetized. They're not going to. So if you support the channel at all, you can send me a little Cash App, child. Let me put my Cash App on here because I'm not with these documents and all of the words that I used. They're not going to monetize this video at all. So, you know, I could just forget about monetization. That's just not going to happen for me on this video. Let me get it real quick. And I mean, you know, it's not a requirement. It's not a requirement that you, you know, it's not a requirement that you donate or anything, but I'm just asking if you, you know, see fit, you know, donate to the channel. Because like I said, this is not going to be monetized. This video is not going to make it. into the YouTube partner program. It is not, chat. No, ma'am. They all the words, the greatman, all the stuff that I described, and no, that it probably they probably. I had my little green $ set when I started the video. If I go look at the studio, it's probably on yellow. It's probably on red, child. But that's okay, because I wanted to read this. I wanted to see what was inside of these court documents. I wanted to see what it was giving. Now, I do feel like there is not enough for me. And maybe that will come out later. But it does kind of mirror the other lawsuit. It does. Now, it kind of makes me think, was this the same night? Because they both say it was at a party, after party at the VMAs, after the VMAs. So was this 13-year-old there with the 17-year-old? But then we see the 17-year-old in the studio. I don't know. I don't know if this is all together. I don't know. But it just all sounds the same. It all sounds the same, like Jay-Z's lawyer is saying it. It really does. But like I said before, if you do the same thing, if you do a lot of these parties and you graping all these women, and this is what you like to do, it will sound redundant after a while. It could be a lot of similarities. I'm just saying. And the fact that Jay-Z is so hung up on, I don't know who she is. I need a picture. I want to see, because in my mind, you trying to remember. Is it this one? Is it that one? Oh, and when you see it, because if this girl was 13 back then, and she was a groupie, she was somebody that nobody knew who she was, all right? They didn't. She came there in hopes of getting into the VMAs. She didn't have a ticket. She watched outside on the big screen like everybody else. And so the going from limo to limo, asking about, can she be invited to a party? She was 13 years old. Diddy's driver, yeah, you look like the type Diddy likes. Meet me back here. This is something that is done. He just said, you look like the type. So how would you know who she is by just saying her name? Mr. Carter needs to know who she is so he can defend himself. No, Mr. Carter wants to know who she is so y'all could do background checks. Y'all could try to find out what her life has been about. You can try to smear her in the public and, try to ruin her life, issue death threats, the beehive, That's why you want to know who she is, and you want the public to know who she is. That's my personal belief. Okay, that's my opinion. Because if you just say that I want to know who she is for my defense, but we can keep her private, we don't have to, she doesn't have to be known in the public, then I wouldn't be side-eyeing you as much. But you are emphatic on us knowing who she is. Why is that? You got to think about that, you guys. So that's all I have for this video, you guys. Thank you for being here. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you drop in the comments and let me know. Make sure you thumbs up this video. If you love the content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Good night.